One of the most painful feelings in life is looking around and believing everyone else is winning while you're falling behind. Every single day, social media floods your mind with pictures of success, money, perfect bodies, perfect relationships, and perfect lives. And slowly, without even noticing it, you begin to question your own worth. You see someone achieving more than you, and suddenly your own progress feels small. You start thinking maybe you're not smart enough, talented enough, successful enough. And that quiet feeling becomes heavier every day. But here's the truth most people never realize. A fish will hate itself forever if it spends its life trying to fly like a bird. The problem is not that the fish is weak. The problem is that it was never meant to fly. And maybe, just maybe, you've been judging your entire life using someone else's path. Welcome to Quiet Growth Lab. In a small village surrounded by a quiet forest lived a young man named Ethan. He was kind, respectful, and one of the hardest workers in the village. But no matter how hard he tried, he could never feel proud of himself. Every time he looked at someone else, he saw another reason to feel inadequate. His friend Liam always earned the highest grades in school, and Ethan would quietly think, "Why can't I be that smart?" Then he would see Ryan, his wealthy neighbor with a beautiful house and expensive clothes, and once again the same thought would return. Why is everyone else doing better than me? Even when he watched someone run faster, speak better, or gain attention more easily, his confidence dropped lower and lower. Inside his mind, one painful sentence repeated itself over and over again. "I'll never be good enough." Slowly, Ethan stopped enjoying life. He couldn't focus on his work. He lost motivation. Even the things he once loved began to feel empty. The more he compared himself to others, the more invisible his own strengths became. One morning, after another sleepless night filled with self-doubt, Ethan went to speak with an old man everyone in the village respected. His name was Grandpa Joe. People said he had a way of making heavy hearts feel lighter. After listening quietly to Ethan's struggles, Grandpa Joe smiled gently and said, "Meet me tomorrow morning by the oldest tree in the village. Your answer is waiting there." The next day, as the golden sunlight moved slowly through the forest, Ethan arrived beneath the giant tree. Grandpa Joe pointed around them and asked, "What do you see?" Ethan looked carefully. Tall trees, short trees, some covered in fruit, some standing plain and silent. Grandpa Joe then asked, "What if the apple tree spent its whole life wishing it were as tall as the coconut tree? Or what if the coconut tree hated itself because it couldn't grow sweet apples?" Ethan laughed softly. "That would make no sense," he said. Grandpa Joe nodded. "Exactly. The forest is beautiful because every tree is different." His voice was calm, but every word hit Ethan deeply. Each tree has its own purpose, its own strength, and people are no different. Some are born to lead, some are born to create, some are born to heal others with kindness. But when you spend your life comparing yourself, you become blind to the gifts you already have. Through the water, while birds circled peacefully in the bright morning sky. After a moment of silence, Grandpa Joe asked, "What would happen if one of those fish spent its whole life trying to fly like a bird?" Ethan smiled faintly and answered, "It would fail, because fish were made to swim." Grandpa Joe looked at him carefully and said, "Then why are you trying so hard to become someone else?" In that moment, something inside Ethan finally broke free. For years he had been fighting against himself, measuring his worth using other people's lives, chasing talents that were never meant to be his. But now, for the first time, he understood something powerful. Being different did not mean being worthless. It meant having a different purpose. For the first time in years, Ethan stopped fighting who he was. From that day forward, he began focusing on his own growth instead of someone else's success. He worked harder, but with peace in his heart instead of pressure in his mind. Slowly, his confidence returned. The sadness that once followed him every day started fading away. Life no longer felt like a competition. It finally felt like his own journey. Years passed, and Ethan eventually built a successful business that inspired the entire village. But the greatest change was not his success. It was the peace he finally found within himself. Whenever people asked him the secret behind his success, he would smile and say, "The moment I stopped comparing myself to others, my life finally began." And maybe that's the lesson we all need to hear. The sun and the moon never shine at the same time, yet both light up the world in their own way. In the same way, every person has a different season, a different path, and a different purpose. You do not need to become someone else to have value. You only need to become the best version of yourself. If this story spoke to your heart, subscribe to Quiet Growth Lab for more inspiring stories that help you grow stronger, wiser, and more confident in your own journey. Thank you for spending these few minutes with us. And remember, your path does not need to look like anyone else's to be meaningful.